Hello, everybody. We're here back once again with the audacious, magnificent, and the visionary Jake Bentley from the Threelancers.
Hello, everyone.
And the reason we have him here today is because on Cinema the Live Show, we've been showing the 30th of September, The Job to End All Jobs. A very short but very funny and a magnificently crafted and acted, by the way, short film by these guys. Jake, please tell us about The Job to End All Jobs and how did it happen?
The Job to End All Jobs is a short about a group of bank robbers trying to get the score of a lifetime so they'll never have to work again, only to all come crumbling down before they can even start the heist from stupidity. So, back in late 2018, Film Riot, which you've probably heard of, did a 1-minute contest with Filmstro, which is a software where you can make your own music with the beats and control it pretty easily for people. I have not much music knowledge. I know what I want, but I don't know how to compose a song. But I was able to use that with the director to make a song for it, which fit in really well.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a contest. We didn't win, didn't get in the contest, but I thought we got a pretty good short out of it. And since then, it's got into other festivals anyway, so it's gone on to have a life past that. But yeah, that is The Job to End All Jobs.
Mm-hmm. Would you say you've done a lot of comedy in the past?
Yeah, we've definitely done a lot of comedy. I think we've touched on all genres a lot now, and especially combining crime and comedy. That's one of our common ones that we've done. I think it just works really well, like the juxtaposition of what they're doing versus like making it comedic. Because in real life, a lot of the time, like if you think about it, there's a lot of crime comedy out there. Like Snatch is one of my favorite films, but what they're actually doing in it and some of the things they're doing is quite, if you think about it in real life, it's quite sickening. But to make it comedic, it's like, there's something about it that works so well.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, on one hand, you could say that crime and comedy actually go hand in hand in many cases. And I always have that slight feeling of there's always a comedic intent sometimes, slightly trying to pick through most of the stuff you write and the stuff you direct. So it always feels very organic in that sense, and it's true. You're taking most genres up to this point. Like, is there anything like? There's been comedy, there's been horror, there's been a lot of crime, thriller, and a little bit of action here and there. Sci-fi, there's a fair amount, even slasher. But have you ever done rom-coms?
We have done, well, kind of one called Love at First Sight we did this year, which is we did a Valentine's Day short film about a guy called Billy trying to get the love of his life, but she doesn't want him, so he goes to Cupid, who gives him a potion that will make her fall in love with him, and it all goes very wrong from there, as you can imagine.
There you go.
That was our touch into a rom-com this year, and we did do a sci-fi combined with sci-fi combined with romance last year, it was called Replica, and it was basically very much like not Replica, that's the film, very much like Blade Runner, where it's more of a romance in the sci-fi skin. So those are kind of our two romance attempts so far, but there will definitely be more because we quite like doing it more than we thought we would.
Excellent. So, and I was shooting the Job to End All Jobs. So, was it an easy shoot? Like, how long was it, and how did it go?
We managed to shoot it all in one day or one evening because it was shot in November. It meant we could start pretty early. We started at like 4 p.m. It was already pretty much pitch black, so we had plenty of hours to shoot night. And we started with all the montage stuff of the bank robbery and all the heist in the building we got access to. And then the next few hours just in the car park shooting all the dialogue takes you have to take to get it right. But it only literally took one evening, which you would expect for a 1-minute film.
Yeah, I have to say that my favorite bits. I mean, it's a very short film, but the two moments I was really taken with was with the main robber is going through the names of all of the other guys, and he mentions Andrew, and you see him propping up those two revolvers, and then Kenneth, my lovely sweet Kenneth. Oh my God, there's two moments where I really liked it. Like it's very on point in the style of on the writing and the style of comedy it's trying to have. Like I really found it on touch. I'm very inspired. What would you say are your inspirations in comedy? Where do you take from? Where do you come from?
it's quite off the top. Like you put me on the spot. I can't. Definitely, actually, I mean, the main one would be Edgar Wright. If you
Yeah,
look at
I got that
the way,
impression.
the pacing of it, the way that the visuals kind of play off the joke rather than just like the dialogue being what is the joke, like the actual pacing of the edit is what
Mm-hmm.
creates a joke in the
Mm-hmm.
editing rather than just like, like a lot of films now kind of and shows are just dialogue and dialogue is a joke. It's not like the
Mm-hmm.
editing or the visual like slapstick almost comedic elements. Like I'd say one of my favorite moments is where the plot of it is how there's just a car park attendant listening in and he's just talking and talking, it just pulls focus to him just right at the window. It's just stuff
Exactly.
like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, yeah. If I had to say, the impression I get is that, yeah, one of the things that you also have in common, Edgar Wright and you, is the fact that the way I see it, it's kind of slapsticky. That humor for me has a
Yeah.
root in basically in character humor. Like it relies on developing a notion of who these people are and what's going on through their minds. Like, and it is one little short film you did that managed to enjoy that because only one character speaks, but you managed to showcase who all of these other guys are. At least you get an impression of what they're about. You get who is the kind of simple-minded. You get a feeling that there's one of them that is like very very focused and very tense about what's going to
Luke
happen. There's
Hammond.
this the
Yeah.
other guy, exactly, Andrew, the other guy on the phone. He's on his own world. Just he doesn't notice anything. And in that sense, you get the feeling that you have actually created a character-based comedy. Um, which actually it feels like it gives you a lot of feel to actually try to develop that simple premise and actually tell more about what happens before or immediately after that simple moment in time. Like you can imagine tons of scenarios that could happen
Yeah.
afterwards. Either how the actual robbery went wrong or what's gonna happen afterwards. Are they gonna go are they gonna go to jail? Is there gonna be a trial? And what situation is gonna arise from that and what dialogues gonna arise from that? Just imagine a whole movie with just the main character speaking. Imagine the other guys never talk. Well,
Both in
that's kind
jail,
of
they were pretty silent.
yeah. That's the kind of crazy that I come out with. But if you had to say, what went wrong in the robbery?
uh, well, I think the idea literally in the robbery is that that parking attendant hears what they're about to do, and as they get out of the car, they start walking up to the bank, and then police just go, and just literally park in front of them. I think that's so they don't even make it into the doors, and then they're like, oh shit. And that's when they're slammed against their own car with the handcuffs. So they barely make it out of the car, is what I would say happens.
I can say it absolutely. To me, the job to handle jobs it's one of your short films that has shined the most to me because it really manages to tackle that really big challenge, which is trying to create something convincing with the least amount of time, which is always a huge effort. Do you see yourself doing more short films of this length or around?
Yeah, we've done a lot lately, 1 minute short films. I think
Hmm.
what made us start it is like a lot of festivals and competitions have these free 1 minute sections and a lot of
Exactly.
contests where there's great prizes and rewards and whatnot for 1 minute films. It made us think, well, actually, a lot of our films could work in 1 minute contexts, or would be a lot of fun to make 1 minute films. That way, we're not having to worry so much about shooting for 4 days to make a 10 minute film in all these places. Like, you can concentrate on one solid minute and make a lot of different things. So, I really do like the idea of them, and also it
Hmm.
takes less time post, so you can get it out quicker and put it on a lot more platforms, so it's a lot shorter. So, we're definitely going to be doing a lot more. I mean, this year our film Sustain, which I think you guys selected actually once I sent it on Film Freeway, is
Hmm.
the astronaut one. And we
Exactly. Yeah.
made that this year for a rain dance 1 minute contest, and that's won. So it's at rain dance this year, and it's gone on to win like 4 other awards, another 10 selections, and so just from a 1 minute film. So it's like they seem to get. I think it's because you can show a lot more off in a 1 minute and impress them that
Hmm.
wow, you did that in 1 minute and told this story with these production values, I mean, a full story in that space of time. So I
Hmm.
think it is technically more impressive sometimes than putting out a 120-minute feature and you're like, oh, you got to sit through a lot of crap maybe or stuff
Yeah.
that's not quite as
Exactly.
good. Like you're cutting all the fat.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. No. Definitely. So yeah, I wasn't gonna spoil that, but yeah, sometime quite soon, we're going to see stuff like the interloper. That was the name, right? Yeah, the Interloper. Here
Interlooper,
on the
yeah.
Here on the Cinema Live show, that's going to be great. Also, that will be another chance to have a chat with you. But not only that, but you guys never stop. So I'd like to talk about two very fascinating projects that you guys are working on, or basically focusing on releasing very soon. Which one of them is The Humming.
Yeah.
You just very recently, like just a few days ago, released a trailer for it on your YouTube channel,
We did, yeah.
and it looks like it's kind of horror-ish. It looks like it's going to be a series apparently of shorts.
Yeah.
So please let me know more about that. What's that all about?
Well, The Humming is directed by Charlie Humber Thomas, one of our friends, and it's a detective crime series about a cult. So it does dive into some very horror elements. So this very classic sort of noir tale, this one detective down on his luck. The cases have not been going his way, you know, a rundown. It's a police precinct with not much of a budget, so they're like, oh, you'll put on this case, but they're not too bothered. But then as he's put on this case about these statues appearing everywhere, he eventually realizes actually these are all a connected case which run much darker than he originally thought. So that is a series, and it does a lot of interesting things. We're still shooting part 2, part 3, 1, and 4 are completely wrapped. So it's just one last part to shoot. And part 4 does some very interesting things. It's actually completely found footage, almost completely. It was shot on actual VHS tape and transferred digitally. So that's our next. That's what we're working on currently. I can actually show you the camera.
Ah, yes, please do.
The camera is very different to what we would normally shoot on. So a lot of the show was shot on the C100 by Canon, but for part 4 we shot it on this compact VHS JVC.
Oh, beautiful. I mean, how old is that one? How did you get it? Was that yours, or did you get it specifically for this?
We had to buy it specifically for the show. We bought it on eBay, and had old family footage on it still. But we bought it specifically for the film, and I think it's a late 80s model or early 90s. So it's at least, it's 20 to 30 years old.
Excellent, beautiful. So, and what would you say about the format in general? Like, how long is each episode going to be?
Each episode. Oh, sorry, I'll let you finish.
No, please, just do.
Each episode is around 10 to 15 minutes. So we're hoping that in total it'll be around an hour or just over. And possibly, if it is, then combining it to create it into like a mini feature film. Yeah. And then releasing it and distributing it also on maybe a Blu-ray release as a full feature if it's around that time. We'll have to see after post, but
excellent.
That was the plan down the line.
How many episodes?
4.
And all is done with the same cast and crew. There's no change in directors or slight variations.
The director is just the director's the same, and the main principal cast. We brought in different people per episode, but so far all the episodes have been made with 4 people. It's the same 4 people. So me, director, 1 crew member, and the main cast member, and I've all switched. I've been mainly cinematography and then sound, but then we've all switched to lighting and extras at main casts helping reflect, for example, all the lighting. So we've all been kind of doing a lot of work because we're trying to keep the crew down because of COVID still, but also it's just been hard to schedule everything because everything just seems so chaotic at the moment. Like all our main cast and actors that would normally help are just booked up with other things or are skeptical still to film with the virus being a thing. So we're just having to keep going forward and making it with just even 4 of us. But I think so far we've done a good job of making it look like something that was made with a team of a couple hundred behind it, not a team of 4.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The trailer is an indication. It really does the job and above. And talking about Blu-ray releases, the other thing that you guys are doing recently is that you're doing a charity release. It's called Distant Times, and it's done with the Meridian Releasing Group. So, tell me.
Yeah, I'll tell you about that. Back in April, we got an email from RMG because they saw one of our horror films, A Cell, from last time's interview at a festival, and was wondering if we would be interested in it being on a Blu-ray release with them. they do their own collections called the collectives, where they get 8 or so filmmakers from around the world, put it on a Blu-ray, and release like a horror one with 8 horror films from around the world. And the profits are split between the 8 filmmakers from wherever. But they saw our film and asked if we had others, and I was like, well, we've got like 16 of our horror films. So our partnership began there, where we released our own freelancer horror collection with them. And since then, they've become our distributor, and we've gone on to do obviously Distant Times. And the charity release has, I'm not sure how many films are on it technically. It's probably around 8 or so. It might be even more, because the profits were decided to be donated to charity to support people that have been very badly affected by COVID. But our film Distant Times is on there, so we thought we'd promote that to try and get as much help, donate money to charity, do our part.
Cool. Well, would you say that distribution model actually works for independent filmmakers? What do you think of it?
What was that? Sorry.
Yeah, that distribution model. How is that working in your guys' case specifically? And do you think it's a viable option for independent filmmakers?
I think it's definitely a viable option, because the Blu-rays are made on demand, so you're not paying a massive upfront cost to manufacture thousands of Blu-rays you might not sell. Because that is a worry. When you're an independent indie studio or production company, you might think you have a big fan base, but then you actually realize who the true fans are, or the ones that when you go to sell something realize, or do a crowdfunding, actually you get way less than you thought you would, despite having like 10k subscribers on here and 5,000 followers on Instagram. You get way less, because you realize a lot of people are just there for the free films. They're like, oh, they'll support you as long as it's free. As soon as they have to pay a bit, like, nah. So it's definitely a more viable option, to the fact that we're not, mass producing and wasting material, creating and, adding to the problems of the planet's already facing with mass production, wasting all that crap and materials. So I think it works in a very much an environmentally friendly sense and a business model sense for us. So I would definitely say that's probably where we're at the minute, and the closest thing we can get to theatrical releases on cinemas just yet. It's getting us that much closer.
No problem. Yeah, slowly, always going a little bit further. And what type of content is there on Distant Times?
Well, the actual Blu-ray is called Quarantined. So it's 8 or 16 so films from various filmmakers made during isolation, and Distant Times is one of the films included on it. So Distant Times is a tale of 2 farmers who come together to get a sense of normality in their lives, trade vegetables and food, talk to each other. But then as things go in a world full of a pandemic, things go very wrong for them very quickly. So that's what Distant Times is. It's a 6-minute short, I think, off the top of my head. I can't quite remember. There's a couple of different versions of it. There's a festival version, then the full version, so I always can't quite remember the time of it. I think it's a 6-minute film. But what they try and do on their Blu-rays RMG is they aim to have like an 80-minute amount of content on the Blu-ray. That way it's like a feature release. So if that's 6 minutes, then there'll be another 74 minutes worth of films on there made by other people during the lockdown.
Perfect. Is there any other projects apart from Humming and now the release of Distant Times? Is there anything that really catches your attention that you're going to do soon in the future right now? Currently in post-production, we're working on a Bigfoot comedy. I think I told you about this last time, which is nearly complete. And the main thing at the minute is we're releasing our next main actual Blu-ray, which is our first feature film, Dead Air, on Blu-ray. So that's releasing early October. The target was October the 1st, because that will be the 3-year anniversary of Dead Air. We've taken the feature film and completely recut it, remastered it from the ground up, new score, took out a lot of the crap and a lot of the scenes that just didn't work. And I think it's a lot more of a solid film now, and are releasing that very soon. So we're just working on the final package for that and having the test copies made by the manufacturer. Ooh, exciting. Wow, so tell me more. I had no idea about this one. What's Dead Air about?
Dead Air is about it's about a radio station called S-Rock, and the zombie apocalypse happens while they're at work, but instead of going home to be with their families, they decide to barricade up and continue broadcasting throughout the apocalypse to try and help people through it. But the workers inside pretty much hate each other. So it's very much a zombie comedy.
Nice. Okay, this sounds interesting. So, and when is this releasing exactly? Around maybe
the aim is
mid-October?
October 1st, but it's possibly going to be a few days late because the score was a bit delayed and the technical, the quality control. But it's very early October.
Okay. I'm going to keep my eye out. I'm most probably going to buy that one. Yeah. Okay, nice. I had no idea you guys already gone and done stuff on doing a feature length. Like, is this proper like 80, 90 minutes or?
It's 140 minutes.
Excellent. Wow.
So proper feature length.
Excellent. Yeah, beautiful. Um, and yeah, any other projects, any short films aside from that?
We're doing one called The Farmer very soon, and also we're aiming to do a Halloween short film. But The Farmer's the next one that the script's been written and locked since like February, just the pandemic happened.
Exactly.
And it's a short 1930s style film made to look like, if you've seen The Lighthouse,
Yeah.
it's made to look like it was shot back then. And the whole film turns out to be actually a War of the Worlds film. And it's from the perspective of a farmer during the invasion of the aliens, or the tripods in it. So that's the next one.
Excellent. So, is there been any real impact, like on a really big scale, of how your work has been impacted after having to come back from the quarantine and the lockdown? From what I saw in the trailer for the Humming, like you still managed to keep the quality and look as if nothing really big has happened. But on your actual side, how have you felt it? How has it impacted you?
It affected things massively. I mean, back in March, we had to halt production as soon as the lockdown happened. And from March till June, we didn't film. So that was 3 months of not filming. But once we came back and started filming again, we couldn't do things that were inside or too public. Not hiding, one like we're trying to evade police or whatnot, but just because we didn't want to be in the way of massive groups of people. We wanted to be, keep the group small and stay away from other people coming in and being like intrigued. Because people see the big camera in a small town, they're like, "What's that?" and come over. And it's like, we want everyone to stay away. So it meant that for the first couple months, or for the first few months after the lockdown, we've been doing so much outside, relying on natural light and times of the day to shoot films, and just having to schedule a lot. So it meant a lot of the ideas were just in woods and forests, fields, etc. So kind of limited what we wanted to do by now, like e.g. The Farmer on an actual farm, which we had ready. But I think we've adapted well, and now things are starting to, things aren't really going quite back to normal yet, but we've been able to shoot indoors again, like in Humming, and go back to that and being able to light films again and how we would, and have more control. It's just the crew size is still definitely is another problem. Like, we've had way less crew and cast, but I think we've adapted well and made a lot, considering, if anything, we probably made more because of the pandemic than if it hadn't have happened, because of like work and jobs and whatnot.
Anything interesting you've seen? Anything you liked? Any shows, movies? Anything that has caught your attention?
Well, I recently watched Tenet and also the new Bill and Ted. And funny enough, Bill and Ted was the film that I preferred over Tenet, the big blockbuster that was meant to save theatres.
Yeah. What do you think about Tenet, for instance?
Well, I mean, it's been massively controversial because of the sound mixing and editing. But I mean, the sound aside, I wasn't overly impressed. I thought the concept and story, pretty good, but it felt like a big exposition. Like, from the start to finish, I felt like I was in my seat with no break. Like, people constantly spouting words at me and dialogue and information. Then he'll be in somewhere new, like London, then he's in somewhere else, and on a boat, and you're like, oh my god. The pacing felt like unrelenting. Like, we're just being bombarded from start to finish. Especially the opening half. Like, as soon as you open up, we're just in some music classic, concert hall,
the
and then
opera
bang,
house.
explosions, people in gas mask shouting stuff. They're in undercover and they move in, then they're talking code names at you, and you're like, what is going on? I've got no context to set up here. It's just I'm being literally bombarded with information. Like I had to at the end stop and gather my thoughts. Like, okay, so that's what happened.
Yeah, I mean, one of the few things. I mean, yeah, it is. I guess it is. In many ways, it is a confusing film, but more than that, I mean, confusing in some ways, but surprisingly, yeah, as you say, it's more simple than what I expected it to be.
Yeah.
What you would expect it to be. Like, it's not that. Like in some ways, I think. I mean, for me, my most favorite Nolan film has always been Memento.
Yeah.
Because it had a simple idea, but it was very well exploited.
Yeah.
And then it had a really good payoff to that, and it had a really good message to go with it. In this case, I thought that, surprisingly enough, I felt Inception was a little more intricate than this one. Like this one had a really fascinating idea with the time inversion thing, but it really didn't play around with it that much. It was just like some kind of flavor for the whole thing, and it could have done with a little bit more of actual story and character developments. Like it was like a few ideas sprinkled here and there. And what do you think about Bill and Ted? I haven't seen that one.
Oh, I loved it. It does what exactly it's meant to be. It's just like such a silly trilogy, and this third film is really tops it off, bringing all the old characters back, but having a new story that surprisingly is just quite fun and unique. Like I thought it was funny that both Tenet is definitely not time travel, but the idea of how you traverse time backwards or forwards. But I thought Bill and Ted kind of used its time traveling concept and like its science behind it better than Tenet in ways. But because I feel like when you do stuff, use comedy and comedic, you can like write off a lot of what people think. But as soon as you have a serious film, people question on everything a lot more. Like Tenet, you're like, wait, how does that work? And people try to draw diagrams like, okay, if he goes here and there. Whereas Bill and Ted is just like, I didn't think about things as much as found it, enjoyed it. And just like a happy comedy for a year where everything's been so dreary, it feels like that's what we needed. Whereas Tenet is not the film we needed this year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I was very surprised that the one thing that really understood and really got me about Tenet was the fact that this is the first movie by Nolan since maybe ever that actually had the title come up after the first 10 minutes instead of at the very ending of the movie. I was very surprised to see that. Again, back on comedy and mixing it with sci-fi elements and stuff like that. The reason why I think it's easier to sneak your own rules is because there's an inherent element of throwing the real life book out of the window when you're doing a comedy. So I think it's a lot easier, or audiences are from the very beginning trying to get around to watch all the rules or the laws that you're trying to set up for this one story. So that's why we very easily come around to the most ridiculous or extraneous of circumstances and concepts. Like I don't know, it's like like movies like Beavis and Butthead to America, like for example, of course, Bill and Ted. Even movies like even less extroverted comedies like Death of Stalin. Like they work in a way that's so diverted from how real life would play out. That we already were completely ready to accept that and see where it's meant to go. Like, Dude, Was My Car, the Harold and Kumar movies, that kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, you know that you work with comedy. Comedy is one of those genres that, for me, it's almost impossible to tackle confidently. Because that's the irony, right? Comedy leaves you open to play around with a certain types of things, but on the other hand, you need to know how to actually play by some semblance of rules that comedy has, some pointers, some kind of guidelines, some concepts that are going to make people laugh, or at least are going to elicit that kind of response, that pathos, that gut response of somehow either connecting through cringe or through compassion with the characters and understand their situation. But it is a fascinating thing. I mean, what would you say are your favorite comedies that you've seen apart from Bill and Ted recently?
Actually, it wasn't that long ago that I watched The Death of Stalin. I really liked that. There's just something about the fact that they should all be speaking a Russian accent, but being as American and English as possible. and how like crude it all is. But I mean, recently I was going through a lot of Nolan's films, but actually, probably the original, actually, because it's just come out the trailer, the original Dune by David Lynch, the
Ah,
1984 one.
oh my god, yeah,
Because the trailer just came out for the new one, obviously, and I went back and rewatched it just to
yeah.
see and just realized like it kind of flopped at the time review wise and everything, but I think it was a bit ahead of its time because visually it's pretty up there for a film from 1984. Like some very
Hmm.
striking elements, like those worms look incredible, like the even now. Whereas there's also a mini TV series from the early 2000s, and my god,
Exactly.
the worms look awful.
Yeah, the one from for the Sci-Fi Channel. That's the
Yeah,
one. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I remember when my family, when my parents were recording it for me. They wanted me to watch it because they've always been very educated, like very cultured. They were like, "It's Dion, it's Dion, it's Dion." But yeah, I mean, what did you think about the trailer for the latest one for Denis Villeneuve's movie?
I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, I loved Death like I loved Blade Runner 2049 a lot. So, and it kind of looks like he's taken Blade Runner like that aesthetic and look, but put it on Dune. So
Hmm.
I'm really looking forward to it. Like just the look of it all and like the vehicles and battle scenes. Also, something that the music in this trailer is really unexpected. Like most trailer songs these days are very kind of like I think Inception's trailer is what kind of started it, but like the booms and that
The
sort
boom,
of
yeah, the boom.
cinematic piano keys, like ding. But it just felt like you have this like indie song come on. So I'm interested to see how the film sounds because
Hmm.
that was very unexpected in the trailer.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah, no, definitely. And I agree. I mean, Dune, David Lynch, Dune was one of those things that, yeah, sadly, I guess it's one of the movies that probably you know the story already, but it's one of those movies that probably we're never gonna see the actual David Lynch cut, sadly. And it's
yeah,
just, yeah, what we saw was Dino's editor, Dino De Laurentiis editor's take on it. But yeah, for me, in my opinion, the casting was excellent, and it was a treat to be able to see David Lynch trying to tackle full-on space opera science fiction.
yeah. I'd say
Exactly.
it's definitely. I'm not sure if it's a result of it being cut by the studios coming in being like, actually, this is too weird, but it's probably his most normal film. Like out of
Yeah.
everything else, like Eraserhead and stuff, and Mulholland Drive, you're like, what is this? But Dune feels like something more open to a broader audience that could watch it, like Star Wars.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, as you said, more space opera. But I kind of wonder how much that's a result of him or the fact that people came in and were like, wasn't his exactly what he had in mind cut wise.
Hmm.
So I guess we'll never know that. But
Yeah, but apart from David Lynch, one's the one that obviously always is like a stab in my heart is the reason that is the fact that we're never gonna really see Jodorowsky's version. You probably know about that one as well. Did you see the documentary about Alejandro Jodorowsky's version of Dune?
I have not actually.
Okay, okay. Do you want me to explain the story about this one?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, basically, there's this one of my top three favorite filmmakers ever, Alejandro Jodorowsky, Chile, director from Chile, writer, one of the best, craziest men you're ever gonna see. Basically, he when he got into actually making movies in the 70s, his goal was to change the world through movies. Like he wanted his very first actual big film, El Topo. He had the goal of actually creating the equivalent to the Bible in a movie. And after doing El Topo, it was a very controversial film. After that, John Lennon saw it, and he recommended the producer of the Beatles to produce Jodorowsky's next film, which was The Holy Mountain. Again, a very controversial film, excellent film at the same time. Last year, they were showing both El Topo and The Holy Mountain at the Prince Charles because they had a special restoration and they were showing it for a few weeks. And immediately after that, Jodorowsky decided that his next project will be an adaptation of Dune. And he wanted in just one film to adapt the whole book. And he got so they made on 2013, I guess, they did a documentary just trying to explain the story of the movie that never happened. he got to do the storyboard, to do the costume designs and all of that. Jan Giraud, also known as Mobius, legendary comic book European comic book artist writer, and then he got to star in the movie. He got his own son would have acted as Paul Atreides. David Carradine would have been Duke Leto. Orson Welles would have been Baron Harkonnen. The Emperor of the Galaxy, Shaddam the Fourth would have been Salvador Dali. Mick Jagger was also going to appear. Udo Kier as well, like all around, all legendary names, and like 99% of all of these people, they were already on board. What happened was that the movie was too crazy to make because it was too expensive, and the script was too controversial and too far out. The ending is slightly changed, and the goal was that this movie was going to happen in 74, 75, even before Star Wars. So what happened is that nowadays it's very difficult, but they exist out there. There's a book that Jodorowsky made where you can actually see all of the storyboards for the movie, and it's amazing. Just creatively, they were already coming up with directorial choices and camera angles that we would have to wait 10 years to start seeing them in science fiction. For example, they were already coming up with ideas like having shots shown from the point of view of an android, so you would see all of the coding and the programs, and everything would be red, like in Terminator. All of these things. And it would have been a space opera, but it would have been massively violent, massively spiritual, and the end of the movie was meant to actually create world peace in planet Earth. So yeah, a crazy story. Go and watch the documentary. I think it's on Netflix. So it is a crazy story. But yeah, a brilliant filmmaker with a movie that's never gonna happen. But it's a nice story to remember always. I know, coming back to you, I get tired of talking too much. Do you have any last message you'd like to tell the audience?
I think no, I'm fine, thank you. I think we've covered everything I'd like to talk about, other than just saying to the audience that thank you for all continuing to support and watch our films, and hopefully we can continue to do that for the rest of my life.
Yeah, and always thank you for that, Jake. Guys, please go and get a load of everything that Jake's and the rest of the Threelancers teams are doing. Go to the YouTube channel, take a look at the trailer for The Humming, the new series they're producing. If it probably has come out yet by the point you're watching this, so go and look that. Be on the lookout for Distant Times, which is going to be on the Quarantine Blu-ray release by Meridian Release Group, and also be on the lookout for the release in Blu-ray of Deader, the Threelancers' first feature-length film. That sounds so exciting to hear. Is there any trailer coming out soon for that release?
We've got the official trailer is coming out on, actually, let me look, the 18th, which is in 2 days. We've got an official trailer, the Blu-ray, like the actual product video of it spinning around, teaser, and a featurette with the main cast member talking about the Blu-ray. So we've got 3 different teasers coming up for it until the release.
Ooh. Okay. I'm going to be looking forward to those. So anyway, man, have a lovely day.
Thank you, you too.
No problem. Everybody out there, have a safe day, rest well, and see you next time. Have a lovely day.